Okay, back at it again, picking up where I left off last week. And so I'll turn you around and let you see what I'm up to right now. So I'm installing, or trying to get ready to install, the frame rail connectors that will go in this pocket all the way along here, all the way from the front to the rear, so that instead of just sheet metal between here and the next frame members up there, that this is frame connected. And so what I've decided to do is go with a 2x2. It's like a 070 wall tubing here. And what I did was, because there's several obstructions underneath there, went ahead and got some really thin, I think this is 018 steel. It's very thin, and instead of a paper pattern, which I have some paper on here, this helps me to maintain the shape a little bit more. And so I mocked up the 2x2 rail that I have here, and then I did my trimming with some sheet metal shears to get this shape, so this will fit around. There's a member that goes across here. I'm on the wrong side of the car here, but it has to fit up in around here and go across all of this mess over here, and then fit in along this bottom track right here, going all the way down to the back of the car right there. So once I did that, I went ahead and transferred all of that onto the actual rail itself. Now this will all be welded all along those members that I have to cut around, so that'll all be solid back to the car. And of course this will all be welded every 2 inches to the floor pan, and also to the inside of the pinch weld on this side over here, so that'll solid that whole thing up really nicely. So that's what I'm up to now, and we'll see how this one fits in there. Okay, so decided to show you this before I put the seam sealer on it, and so it's a little bit easier to see what's going on here. I've gone ahead and I've welded this frame rail up into the car. And you can see here some places where it had to be welded to these items here to strengthen it up, and some mend plates over here to take up some of the gapping. And then up here I had to patch in with a piece, but then it's welded to this this pinch plate, which is a pinch weld, I should say, plate, which is triple thick right here, and where it joins to the floor pan, and this outer piece over here. And so on the inside over here, I have one more piece to put in right here along this side here. And see, we can go down from one end to the other from here. It's welded all up in here. Then it comes across here, it's welded here, up and through here. And all this really is a fancy, a more permanent frame connector. On the F-bodies, you can get a frame connector that bolts in. But of course, that'd be 15 inches too short for me. And it's just merely a piece of tubing that fits in the same location here. It bolts up to the front and the rear. And it also has a cross piece over here that can be had to put your a loop for your drive shaft. So that's all commercially available. But this is doing the same thing. It's tying the front and the rear of this platform together. And over here, because this was the wider spread, I wanted to make sure that this connected to this. There's quite a bit of, there's probably about a 1/2 inch gap here, and there's a little bit of a gap here to the pinch weld. So I went in and I plug welded this plate all the way down, and then I went ahead and welded it to this frame member that I constructed. And so we're connected all the way down here, and strengthened up right back to the pickup point over here where this trailing arm goes. So I guess that's a little difficult to see this. I don't know if you can see the comparison to the other side, which is empty. And then let me give you a better shot of that. Again, I don't think you can see it. The lighting's not that great under here. But this fills in this pocket just right. And it doesn't exceed the pinch weld, so you won't see this member below the car. So it just goes in and fills up this gap, and everything's tied to it. far as over here, where the floor pan was, it kind of sloped down here on an angle. So this was hitting, so I just simply cut out this and allowed the frame rail to come up through here, and then I continuously weld it around this perimeter over here, so that you know, it's not that big of a, it's not going to affect the carpeting or anything. This is right underneath where the seat mounts and stuff like that, or actually it's in the back seat footwell. So also what I've done here is I got rid of everything, all my temporary stuff on this side over here, so you can remember what I got going on over here. I left this outer frame rail on over here while I was doing all this mending, and I added this 1.5 by 1.5 inch steel to kind of tie it all together and keep it all straight. So I cut that off, and then I started to cut off the this inner frame rail, and so now I'm trimmed back to this point here, which should line up with the pinch weld on this car once I get the two put together. So and then I'll have to mend from here up to the back side of this lower pinch weld over here, and that'll complete boxing it in. This is quite a strong member all by itself, but once you get back here, it's really strong because it's tied into the box of the back of the bed and everything. So once this is all together with the El Camino, it should be a whole lot stronger than it is right now, which right now it's pretty decent. So anyway, like I said, I've went ahead and gotten down to the last piece of sheet metal, which is actually the floor pan itself. And so what I'm going to do here now is I've got to make a piece to fill this gap in that mimics this piece here and completes this gap, and then I'll continue on. I'll probably jump over to the other side and get the other side up to this point, so I don't get too far ahead of myself. And then it's on to the floor pan, getting the floor pan in, and that'll mend both sides together, and that's where I'm at. All right, so I'm reintroducing, I should say, the various layers here to connect this gap here. This piece over here goes down behind the pinch weld. The pinch welds, if you look at the pinch weld, there's 3 layers of sheet metal. There's this inner piece, which you can see this little red sticking through here. And then there's this piece here, which the floor will come in here and will attach to this. You see this will lay on top of this piece right here. It comes down flat like this, and then this piece here comes up and across like that, and that'll lay on here and finish up this detail. This is a little wider than this, side to side is about 1/4 inch wider, because I'm giving myself a little room, because this does not go straight down. You can see this comes down and then it cuts in and then it kicks back over here. So I'm hoping to tie in right leave enough sheet metal to create another box in over here and attach it right there. We'll see what happens there. But for right now, I'm just going slowly and adding the layers back and drilling out as I go. So I'll have places to weld, plug weld everything back to the El Camino when I get to that point. So that's where I am. I'm going to add this piece back in over here now. Well, I've got that flange rejoined, but having second thoughts about that whole flange. I may end up cutting this layer off and just taking a, because what happens here is this pinch weld right here ends up being about 1 inch higher than that flange. So I may want to just go all the way in to here, and this flange here, right about here, which is the bottom side of this flange, cut this completely away, and then reintroduce maybe some 3/16 angle iron, inch and a quarter by 1.25 inches or something like that, to make that just one, step out from this lower pinch weld and then up. Because as it stands right now, it'll be a 2-step process: up 3/4, out, then up another inch, and then to the pinch weld that's on the body, That might just be too many transitions. I'm going to think about it. For now, I'm just going to leave it alone. See how it looks once I drop it down on the car for the first time. I'm pretty sure it's going to have to go, and then we'll make a smooth L channel coming out from the furthest point in and then up and across. It'll also help add another layer of strength because that's what I've done on the LX platforms, and it really is great because you could jack the car up on that L channel and from any point along the entire length of this frame rail. That's kind of what I want to do here too. I don't want to have any place where it's on my car. I didn't do anything like that, and it's real tricky to jack that car up, so without bending the pinch welds and stuff like that. We'll see. Right now it just looks okay to me, and it's not doing any harm, so we'll just leave it alone. Okay, so I'm on the other side over there putting the other frame rail in, and I decided to take this entire flange off over here. The main reason is because this over here is 5 1/4 inches from here down to the bottom of this existing pinch weld on here, and this down to here is over 6 inches. So I don't want to create a double step here up to the existing pinch weld. So I decided to cut that entire thing off on this side. I'll show you what I'm talking about over here. So I've eliminated this entire layer here. I drilled it out on the spot welds, which gave me an opportunity to also drill out a little bit. And now I have these plug welds going all the way through this layer into the frame rail instead of just, I had it welded every 2 inches on the bottom side, but I wanted a little bit more substantial connection. So by drilling those spot welds out, it gave me an opportunity to just drill on through to the frame rail and then go ahead and plug weld these all up, and I'm in the process of grinding them off right now. But what I have done by taking that flange completely off, because this is slanted backwards as you can see here and up. So this is the existing pinch weld, the top of the pinch weld that'll connect with that pinch weld over there. So I have to make a transition here up and out, and if you notice these cars, the frame rails actually hang out a little bit out of the bottom, not as much as this will, but two options will be to either make a rocker extension to close it down a little bit, make it look a little bit more normal if it looks a little odd, because I'm going to have a double pinch weld essentially here. Here's the frame rail. It's going to come up, and it's going to come up into the pinch weld that's on the body. Like I said, this will just mimic the frame that hangs down from the car normally a little bit below the pinch weld. So what I have is a transition like this, a piece of metal coming up like this that'll flush out to the bottom of this frame rail here, and then this will come in, and this portion will connect to the pinch weld itself. So that's the proper distance from the top. It's 5 1/4 inches from here to here, and it'll show that much. And like I said, if it bothers me, I can either black it out, paint it out black, or I can put a frame rail, or excuse me, a rocker extension from the rocker and then down to here to create the illusion that this is actually the pinch weld over here. We'll see how it looks. I don't think I'm going to need to do that. I think it's going to look fine, especially if this is just blacked out under here. Again, we'll see how it looks, but now I'm able to have a clean transition point right here all the way along, although this does kick out a little bit here at this point, so it's going to be, I'm going to have to do it in a process of, going around that little thing and then going straight again all the way to the back. But anyway, that's where I'm at with this. All right, I'm continuing with debulking this front area here. I was doing some measurements and found out that measuring across the top here, it's the same as the pinch welds, but over here, this thing leans out. So what I've done is needed to come in 7/8 of an inch with this inner panel, which I'm going to end up cutting it right in here, and then I'll rebuild this entire section over here and weld it back to this dashboard brace over here. There was only a little piece of small piece of like a gusset holding this on here. There really wasn't that much attached, but I'll attach all of this. It's going to come up to here, then cut back into this direction over here. So I still have some cutting to do right there. But while I was debulking it, as you can see on this side over here, there's a lot of strength going on here. There's a lot of layers, and there's a very strong door pillar here, which of course there's going to be a door pillar, not quite as strong, replacing it, but then again, this one doesn't have T-tops to weaken the roof, so this all had to be, this all had to be the main support between the main body of the car, keeping it from flexing in this direction. But with that said, now that everything's cleared off on this side, it was considerably flexible, as I was anticipating it would be. So I stopped and basically got it off of its tires so the weight would be on the chassis itself, on these jack stands. And then I also supported these front rails, because with that cut back there, all that stuff, this has a considerable amount of droop now. So I corrected the droop, brought it back up straight, and I've got these 2x4s just bolted to the these outriggers right here on the frame rails and going to the floor to support it. And I leveled it across to make sure, so I'm going around leveling everything up, leveling the pinch welds this way, and then leveling across the car this way, side to side, and putting shims in wherever I need to get the whole thing decked out before I go any further. Because nothing's worse than using the only thing I have right now. This is leveled, so the only thing I have is a reference is a level as far as my lines for my cuts and everything. So if this is a little tilted or whatever, my cuts will be off. So that's what I'm up to right now. So I've got to. Well, I wanted to do this before I put this floor pan in, because this tire here was losing a lot of air, so this whole thing was starting to lean down in this direction over here, which, as you can imagine, since this doesn't have a floor pan crossing here, that's an integral part of the strength, keeping this thing from racking. So I didn't want to put that floor pan in with this thing twisted, sitting on its tires. So now it's on the rails itself, so it's on solidly on the floor. And now I'll put that floor pan back in there. But I wanted to see just how all this, how much was involved with debulking all this, and how much had to come out. Pretty much all of it. Like I said, this I'm going to have to, when I rebuild it, I'm going to have to rebuild it in straight up and down, tilt it in, so that this El Camino will drop down over here, hopefully pretty straight. It hopefully won't interfere. You can see this little plastic piece right in here is right on the line, and that's the inlet for the air box. Of course, that's going to be hopefully not interfered. I measured the air box, and the air box is a little bit smaller than this hole. You can see the edge of the air box is all the way over here. As far as the HVAC system, there's a wire that comes in over here, which there'll still be a pocket for that wiring harness to come in, because the firewall is right here, and where I've got to cut it's here, so we've got this much space to get that wire in and turned before it has to get inside these confines, if you will. I thought these would be more of a support, keep that from sagging, but I'm going to have to run some 1-inch tubing all the way from the shock tower through this hole and through one of those holes over there, probably the steering column hole, to the shock towers, welded to there, all the way back to here, before I'm able to make sure that this thing is before I basically put it back on its tires, so it won't flex in either direction. Once I start to drop this car down on it, which is a little ways off yet, but no time like the present to make sure everything's still straight and square. All right, so I've started to backfill this floor panel back here. Now that I've got everything, top coated with some Rust-Oleum Hammerite, which is a pretty good paint I found in the past. It's pretty durable. But I've scuffed off the places where the spot welds are going to go, and then reprimed them just in those areas with this weld-through primer. Since the weld-through primer is so expensive, I'm kind of using it sparingly when I can. Anyway, the bottom side of this panel is also sprayed with a weld-through primer. So now I've just got it held into place with some self-tappers in all 4 corners. I've already drilled it out and cleaned it up for these spot welds to go in over here. So I'm going to get ready now to weld that all up. But and then continue on to the other side, obviously. But over here I've been debulking some more and determining what I'm going to do with this side panel. And so what has to happen here is this has to be cut on this vertical line right up to here, and then this whole panel has to lean in. Well, this all has to be removed here, and this has to be made into a straight L shape like this in order for this to accommodate this door pillar over here. So by that time I'll have this chopped up sufficiently that just makes sense to make a brand new panel that will go in one piece and replicate what I've got here, rather than try and piece it all together. So, and the other thing is I want it to be flat, and it's got these flare flanges here to strengthen the panel. I don't really need a hole here or here. I can just go straight with a flat panel and just put this one access panel for the wiring that goes into the door jamb. And with that said, because I'm going to be standing it straight up, I have this bracket that basically holds the dashboard in at the bottom. And so you can see, drawing a level line up to here where this has got to lean into, it cuts right across here. So I've marked it out, and I've held it into place with this little TP made out of 3/8 tubing, with a washer welded on here, and this is bolted this. So when I cut this away here, this panel will come away, and then when my new panel goes in, I can weld this back and maintain the location of where it's at right now. As you can see, there's another one on the other side over there. At any rate, that's just a little trick, make a little tripod to hold the bracket so it's be floating in there, and when I lean the panel in, I'll reattach it to the panel and have the same location that it presently has, to reattach the dashboard in the same location. At any rate, that's where I am with this. I'm kind of bouncing back and forth because I have to spray paint these panels and let them dry before I can weld them in. So I'm jumping over to here. I've also gone ahead and debulked this a little bit here to basically clear and sit for the fender over here. So I'll just drop this over here real quick. Clingety, clangety, clang. It's on there roughly, but that's basically where the fender's going to end up landing, right there relative to the tire. So I wanted to make sure I had enough clearance, cutting away that area right there, so that this would swing in enough. I think I do. My plan is to rebuild that upper area over there in order to strengthen it back up. In other words, this is a pretty strong piece right here, but it's way too big. Doesn't allow for that fender to swing in where it needs to go. So I'm going to go ahead and now once I get to a point where I'm sure of everything, I'm going to rebuild this whole thing so this is a strong section, a flat top, and then another vertical piece here, which will strengthen that back out. Anyway, that's where I'm at. All right, so I've removed this panel, the side panel, the kick panel, completely, and trimmed this out, squared it off as to how I want it to correspond with this edge of this post right here. Of course, this is the opposite side of what I'm working on right now, but this is pretty much the line that I've picked because it's just beyond the hinge attachment points over here. So I can minimize this structure but maximize what I have left on this car. So now I'm in the process of taking some 16 gauge steel, and I'm plating the back here to join all this back together, because this is several layers over here. As you can see, this is an inner and an outer layer, joining that back together. I'll do the same thing with this. This way, when I reintroduce this panel back in here, I'll have a plate here that I can plug weld to, so that I'm not trying to stitch all of this together. So while it's right in front of me, I can put a nice piece of 16 gauge here, close this up, and then simply drill some holes to plug weld. I'll weld it on the top side also along the edge, but in areas where it's difficult to get under and get some good weld, at least I'll have this plate that I can go directly to. The same for this over here, because this panel will now come in here and go 90 degrees this way and then down, and that way I'll have a nice smooth surface, hopefully, with one access hole that matches the hole for the wiring from the Camino in the right place, and that it'll also pick up this tab over here, which locates the lower portion of the dashboard. On the El Camino itself, I'm kind of going back and forth, looking at different things. One of the things I have to deal with is these understructures here that were plug welded, or excuse me, spot welded to the kick panel in the El Camino, stick out further than the pinch weld, as you can see right here. So it's about 3/8 of an inch. It looks bigger there than you can see right here. What I've done is I've got this 90-degree straight edge clamped to, this is the dimension I want to match up the pinch weld here. And so this comes in and it gives me a line where I'm trimming these tabs off right here. And what I'll do is I'll come in and I'll replate this from here to here. So again, I have something I can drill through my new inner plate, and I can do some substantial plug welding to weld this structure to the Camino. So that's what I'm up to now. I'm just kind of inch worming my way across here, trying not to cut out too much of this structure. But yeah, these reinforcements for the hinge points on the doors, I want to make sure they have some place that I can really, you know, get some weld on so that it's nice and strong for the doors, because these are pretty long doors. Okay, a bit of a painstaking, tedious process, but basically you could see using this as a sweep along. It's clamped to the pinch weld over there and sweeping it along here. See how I've trimmed off all this metal here and these brackets up here in order to be assured that this is all going to be is all going to clear, and this will give me the ability to get a nice flat pattern right here to see what I need to do on this car over here. So that's primarily why I'm fooling with this over here. I didn't want to get involved with this this morning, but I realized I needed to get a pattern of how this is going to interact over there and see just what size panel. I've got to do a hybrid panel of what I took out and what this wants over here. Make sense? I guess. All right, I'm just fitting up the last of the panels here to join up the rest of this floor pan here. And I just want to draw your attention to, while I like using these Cleco pliers and these Clecos to hold panels together, there's a limit as to how much strength they have to pull panels together. If the panels are laying nicely together, they work great, but sometimes you just need a little extra. If the metal's thicker and you got a complex shape like this, I'll just go ahead and use these, let's see if I can find one. Yeah, just a little self-tapping screw, and that helps to draw the panels together while I do my plug welds. Now I'll go back and unscrew all of these that are in there, using a minimum amount of them so I don't have too many extra holes, and I'll just weld those holes back up. They're only about 1/8 of an inch. But the only downside of those is when you're if you're using them to build, unlike the Clecos, what'll happen is you know, they self-tap the first time and they really grab the panel and pull it together. The second time, they don't tighten up quite as well, so you got to go easy with them so you don't strip them out. But that helps draw the panel down, and you know, as you can work it down around the curve and stuff like that, and it holds it in place just nicely until you get the welds on. Anyway, thought I'd show you that, but it's coming along. Okay, so this is what it's looking like underneath the car. I took the torque arm off because it was in the way of me getting this all put back together, but you can see how this split mount is. This is the front half, which stayed the stock location, and then I added a piece of cable to connect the front and the rear section. This is 15 inches from this mount, which is the amount that I spread this bottom or this pan out 15 inches to expand the wheel base. At any rate, that's what it's looking like right now underneath the car. And so I got to go back to debulking the front door pillar area and yeah, so this project right here needs a little bit of seam sealer down here, and then we'll get a final paint. But that's about it. I'm going to save that for later because I still have some mounts to do. I have a aftermarket torque arm coming, and a torque arm cross mount over here with a drive shaft hoop. That'll allow me to mount the, this is the normal location over here, and the torque arm normally mounts to the side of the transmission, which will be 15 inches too far away, so I'll have to take the mount and mount it somewhere back here, 15 inches back, and then I'll want to tie it into these frame rails somehow, so it's nice and sturdy. Anyway, I know I'm jerking around under here, you can hardly see, but it's looking fine. All right, so this is what the top side's looking like. It's all seam sealed up and primed and finish painted so that it's looking okay. And yeah, I got to move on to, I got to finish taking the rest of this up down to the pinch weld off of here, clean that up, clean that back section away. I've got this pretty much cleaned back to where I want to start building it back, and that's what I'm going to proceed to do next. But as for now, that's all I'm going to film for this video. And let me show you something. I don't remember in the comments who suggested it, but I went ahead and got these reproduction C4 Corvette wheels, and I think they're going to be okay. 9.5 by 17s, and I've had them on this one on the car front and rear to see what kind of clearance issues. Who knows when I get the tires what kind of a situation will create, but anyway, it looks good so far. They fit pretty good. Anyway, I'll be seeing you on the next one. Thanks a lot for watching.